Hey guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? The key to destiny, the key of destiny, destiny, fate. So I am going to read from the key of destiny, continuing on with the number 13, which seems to be more of a lucky number than anything else. Before I start, please give me a like, a share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And if you get anything from my work, a light bulb moment, a mic drop, a new book to read, a connect the dot, an epiphany, or an awakening, please consider supporting my work. The links will be in the drop box below. It helped me pay my bills because this is all I'm doing. I live in communism. And in order for me to move out of communism, I need support. Because, I don't think that there are too many people that can pull money out of ether. So before I actually begin, I started The Secret Doctrine to Blavatsky, and this book quotes The Secret Doctrine a lot. And the keys to the universe. So please keep out for those. It is not an easy read whatsoever. It is the first portion is rather ridiculous, but it will get better, I promise. And that's also due to the fact that I can't pronounce a lot of the Indian from India, the words from a lot of their gods and goddesses and myths and things of that nature. It just doesn't phonetically come out of my mouth properly. We all know I have really bad teeth and some issues with my mouth that even simple words, sometimes I can't project. So just be mindful with any of my readings. It's not because I'm purposely or trying to embarrass myself in any way, shape, or form. It's not the case. I'm also organizational dyslexic. I just read the paperwork from when I was in second grade and got that diagnosis. So just bear in mind, this is something I hated to do and fell in love with it. So, but with that, it comes with imperfections. I also have co-host 1 and co-host 2. He's rather hard to see. But my yin and yang are right there. So number 13, the Great Deep. It's a tiny font. Every number has a certain power which is not expressed by the figure or symbol employed to denote quantity only. This power rests in an occult connection existing between the relation of things and principles in nature of which they are expressions. The Kabbalah of numbers, Sephariel. The word necromancy is formed from 2 Greek words meaning corpse and divination. Its accepted meaning, therefore, is a form of divination through the evocation of the dead. It is also connected with sorcery, witchcraft, and the black art. It is no wonder when the number 13 tends to awaken evil forces and draw them to one Who ignorantly accepts such a perverted meaning and bows to it? But it is a most powerful number for good when understood and connected in the mind always with the Christ and the enlightenment of mankind. By the correlation with that which number 13 symbolizes, the spiritualized will of the sincere disciple can indeed quicken the dead or dormant seeds of spiritual life in his nature. But like the necromancer, he dare not evoke its powers unless he is ready to face and subdue the evil in himself when it comes forth. It comes forth only that through the power of the light of the Christ, he may recognize it and give it no quarter until redeemed. The danger of this number is that by its power, the disciple awakens into new life, all that is in him, both of good and evil, that it may come forth at the command of the Christ. It is Lazarus coming forth from the tomb, but with the grave clothes still about him. But like Lazarus, he is awakened, and if he wills it, he can soon remove the grave clothes. So it is with us, the good is intensified, and the evil, if recognized and falsely faced, can be transmuted into good by the same voice and call it forth. The weapons with which to conquer are a pure heart and an unwavering faith in the divine love and its protection of the Christ's light within, and a fearless determination to face and overcome all that holds us back. Many students, when passing through this period, invoke the shades of their dead past, almost unconsciously. Therefore, they have horrid visions or disagreeable psychic experiences. Hence, it is important that some help should be given to those who are passing through this phase of development. While we most emphatically warn all our readers against any form of forcing their psychic development, yet when those faculties are unfolding naturally in answer to the call of the Christ to come forth from the tomb, the pupil must be told how to guard against the evil influences that are ever ready to rush in the moment the doors centers of the citadel are opened. We have therefore given full instructions on the subject in our book, Realms of the Living Dead. I gotta find that now too. To the true, sincere, loving soul, number 13 is a blessing, for in it the Christ stands in the midst of his circle of destiny and sheds the creative light of truth on all. But woe to him who is seeking only phenomena, self-gratification, and self-indulgence, finds number 13 taking a prominent place in his life. For it will indeed prove to be the number of necromancy and will raise from the sleep of death of all the demons of self to flatter, betray, and ultimately destroy him, unless they are dismissed and prevented from dipping with him into the dish of life force as he sups up and at his round table with his disciples, the faculties. We are told that the beard of the macro-prosperous, or the vast continents, in continuation of the symbolic representation of the head, is divided into 13 portions, which answered by gematria to the idea of unity. For Achad, unity yields the number 13. Number 13 is also called the waters of punishment and mercy, as well as cleansing. Here we have the meaning 13 beautifully, cryptically expressed, where the forehead is the seat of the intelligence and also of will, and benevolence is that benign and loving patience with manifests continually manward. Even though man in his ignorance evokes and vainly seeks for help from the inferior powers, it also holds the idea that very decent and perversion of the life force by the evil powers can, by the divine benevolence, be turned into prayers for man's ultimate redemption. And the waters of punishment, mercy, and cleansing, what are they but the tears wrung from man's eyes through suffering? Because he has lost his way in the darkness and is so blinded by their scalding flood that he cannot see the benevolence of the vast countenance expressed in the zodiac. A certain advanced disciple had a vision in which she seemingly was taken to the paradise and ushered by the angels into the presence of the vast countenance, which seemed to fill the entire universe with its radiance, permeating every atom of her being like a subtle fire and enchanting all her senses like an intoxicating and most fragrant perfume, like a luminous light and a sound of almost overpouring rhythmic music lifting, falling, and throbbing through the universe. Hence an appeal to every sense, even senses not known on earth. Before this vast continence, the angels bade her kneel, then brought to her broken bread, which they bade her eat, telling her this was composed of all the tiny grains of effort she had made to feed the children of men with their bread of life, which she had cast on the waters and forgotten, or which had only brought her bitter disappointment and sorrow. Yet every grain of that spiritual bread had been gathered by the angels and ground fine by the mills of the gods, and was now returning after many days as spiritual bread and given to her to eat. They then brought her a cup filled with a bright, sparkling golden liquor, which they told her was extracted from all the tears of sorrow, disappointment, and repentance she had shed on earth through her long pilgrimage of lives. These had been carefully gathered by the angels and preserved and decocted into the wine of the Spirit, the true elixir of life, which was now given to her to drink. This is an example of the true power of 13, gathered up all the experiences of the circle of our lives, our zodiac, and extract the spiritual essence from all our efforts for good that seem to have been lost, to have been ineffective. In the book of Concealed Mystery, number 13 is also called the waters, or the great deep, the surging sea of humanity. These waters are told in Genesis were divided into two parts. Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Thus, while humanity, being the result of the offspring of the great mother force, is the sea, or the water below the firmament, the water above the firmament is the astral light, or according to the book of Concealed Mystery, the mercy through which judgment and punishment are mitigated. Judgment but justice, or the working of the law of karma, while punishment is only the suffering necessary resulting from broken law, which alone can teach men not to pollute the great sea by evil thoughts and acts. Mercy then is the constant overshadowing love of the God, of the good, turning every experience into ultimate blessings, the downpouring of the water of life from the Divine Mother. Just as vegetation on the earth can only come forth when nourished by terrestrial water, no matter how bright the sun may shine upon it, so the spiritual seeds of good can only come forth from the arid soil of experience and suffering as the water of life. Mercy is poured upon them, or the power of love and mercy sink into the heart, no matter how radiantly the sun of righteousness shines forth. Number 13 is also compared in the same book to unity, arguing that the face of the great deep, the abyss, is the countenance formed from Ein Sof, the limitless one, the first Sephira, the crown. Kabbalistically, 13 is called rest and is sacred to Saturn. See, not all that bad. Number 13, the Snake Divinity. Yep. Quote, a number is a seal or impress of natural law as surely as it is the shape of a flower, the sound of an atmospheric vibration, the color of an etheric wave, end quote. The Kabbalah of Numbers, Sephariel. I'm not saying that right. And I know I'm not. Among the American Indians, number 13 is held in great reverence. The Indians of Yucatan also hold 13 in high esteem, as their snake divinities are 13 in number, yet they also fear it, for some idea of its meaning and power has been handed down to them from the ancient Mayas and Aztecs, whose priests were well versed in all occult and esoteric symbology, lore, and practices. The method of reckoning among the Mayas was by weeks of 13 days, their year containing 28 weeks of 13 days and 1 day over. A period of 13 years with them was called a week of years. The week of 13 extra days accumulated during this time was considered sacred and was devoted to high festivals, sacrifices, and religious ceremonials. It has been reported that every return of this sacred 13th year in an almost inaccessible city hidden deep in the mountains, a strange ceremony takes place. The body of a white priestess, said to be in a state of catalepsy or suspended animation, is brought out from its crypt and carried into a magnificent procession and shown to all the people. The legend concerning the ceremony is that ages ago, before the Mayas reached the zenith of their glory, they came to them a white child who had remarkable psychic and prophetic powers. She was said to have come from over the mountains, and as the city was surrounded by inaccessible peaks, which made communication with the outside world impossible, except through a secret pass known only to the priests, the appearance of such child was considered miraculous. This white child was given into the care of the priests and attached to the temple of the sun, where she was brought up in all the learning of the priesthood, and in time was made their high priestess and was married to the king. Under the guidance of her divine inspiration, the nation grew and prospered to such extent that it had become the leader in learning, civilization, and power. But at the death of the king, the priestess queen was betrayed and murdered at the instigation of the king's sister, who desired to inherit the throne. After the tragedy, it was found that a miracle had taken place, for although the priestess was stabbed to the heart, no blood had flowed. The priests then took charge of the body and claimed that it would remain in a state of suspended animation and perfect preservation until the soul of the priestess returned. During the centuries this had elapsed, the nation has gradually declined until it is now exposed of but a few insignificant tribes buried in the mysterious mountain of vastness, into which no white man has ever been permitted to penetrate. But the priests still declare that the priestess queen will someday return and restore the glory of the nation. The legend further states that through caring for the body of the priestess, the attended priests have learned certain secrets of regeneration, by which they utilize the planetary and zodiacal forces to renew their bodies continually, just as the same forces renew the life of the earth each season. It is said that they have thus been enabled to prolong life in the same bodies to an unbelievable length of time, although their bodies are gaunt, wasted, and shriveled. If there is any truth in this legend, it is indeed a sad one. No doubt their priestess queen will return, but in a new incarnation, in a new body, again to lift up the nation through the light of her inspiration. Hence all the magical forces used to keep her old form from disintegration, but hamper the work which only the reincarnated soul of the priestess can complete. If any of our readers know anything about this legend, The authors would be especially glad to hear from them concerning it. The sum of the meaning of number 13 let us emphasize that the number symbolizes the descent of the divine into manifestation on the physical plane. Hence, 13 can be used to attract to Earth forces from above the Earth, and its influence may be used if the one seeking to correlate with the number mediates upon the sun in the center of the zodiac, the Christ in the midst of his disciples, or the center between the eyes of the vast countenance, to manifest more perfectly the divine one life within himself, and thus help to redeem and uplift the very substance of the globe, as well as the matter composing man and his bodies. Or its power can be reversed if the idea held is to produce phenomena with which to satisfy curiosity, to attain prestige and power over both the forces working in the matter composing the various planes of the globe, or for any other selfish purposes. Number 13 will prove a veritably whip of scorpions driving into the abyss of darkness all who seek to obtain power from the prince of darkness instead of the prince of light. It can be used to bring forth in humanity either the positive force of theophany, the overshadowing and shining through the purified man of the God consciousness, or it can bring forth the negative force of necromancy, which is but man's effort to gain sensation and power by drawing to earth the departed and disintegrating soulless shades from the graveyards of the astral world through dabbling in elemental forces. And it must be remembered that the negative side is the one most easily obtained because the nearest the earth. To obtain the overshadowing of the divine, man must lift himself up in love and aspiration and purity and thought to the God consciousness, while in the negative manifestation, man had draws down to himself entities which are seeking an avenue for the expression of their unsatisfied desires and lusts in the flesh. In both cases, an avenue of desire or a pathway of force must be created according to that which it is desired to draw down. The first can be obtained only by balancing of the forces of the zodiac and by a heart filled of love, ardent aspiration, and will to realize the divine. These will never attract the forces of evil, while no amount of lip service will avail to attract the divine consciousness if the pathway of emanations from the heart is composed of anything but love and purity. There are 13 recorded appearances of Jesus after his resurrection. The first appearance was Mary Magdalene on the first day of the resurrection. John 20:15-17, on what occasion he spoke to her 3 times. Quote, "Women, why weeping thou? Whom seekest thou?" End quote. Mary, and touch me not, an occult injunction it is well to remember when encountering the newly risen astral bodies of our loved ones. For no matter how pure or loving they may be, as Jesus said, until they had risen into the higher psychic realms, they cannot contact a mortal aura without casting over it conditions of suffering with which they passed out of physical life. That actually makes a lot of sense. I'm going to put a pause right there because when someone dies, they have like a few days that they're able to be with their loved ones or their soul family that they can sort of leave signs and connect with, but then they go and heal. And then they take their actual form in celestial, ethereal, whatever you want to call it. And then it takes a long time for them to come back, like to show you. If that makes sense. It took my dad 9 years to start, like, hi, I'm here. My mom, not so long. But usually you're not supposed to see the medium until like after 6 months. Not a rule, but yeah. after someone's passing so that they can get acclimated up there. The second appearance in Matthew 9 was to the two Marys on their return from the tomb. The message was, "Be not afraid, go tell my brethren that they go into Galilee and they see me." I don't know if they wrote that right. The third appearance in Luke 13 was to the two disciples on their way to Emmaus. They did not recognize him even when he walked and talked with them, expounding the teachings he had given them. Only when he had opened their understanding did they recognize who he had been teaching them. Thus does the Christ often walk with his disciples in their daily round today, but must wait for recognition until their awakened understanding shall recognize him through his teachings. The fourth appearance in Luke 34 was to Simon. No. Sorry, guys, it's like chopped off, so I'm trying to determine whose name is it. Simon, Peter, or there's another name there and I cannot make it out. Sorry, guys. Again, I'm reading like off of an actual book that's deteriorated. The fifth appearance was to the 10 apostles in an upper room. His message was, "Peace be unto you, as my Father hath sent me, even so send I you, receive ye the Holy Ghost." The sixth was to the 11 apostles as they sat at meat. The seventh was the disciples, and Thomas was with them. His message was, "Reach hither thy finger, and hold my hands, and reach hither thy hand, and thrust it into my side. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have been delivered." The seventh message was number 7 itself, most blessed and comforting. Although the world is full of doubters, here we have the assurance that every honest doubt shall be satisfied if the doubters will but put forth their powers, fingers, and investigate thoroughly for themselves. There is a great difference between the honest doubter, who, though he has not yet had the inner personal experience which settles all his doubts, yet goes on doing his work in the world with an open mind, awaiting his illumination, and the scoffer who refuses to believe that anyone could have experience which he could not share or demonstrate to himself. The eighth appearance was to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias, where he asked for meat, eating with them broiled fish and bread, his message being, "Come and dine." The ninth was to the 11 apostles on the mountain in Galilee, his message being, "All power is given unto me in heaven and earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Ghost. Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world." The 10th was the 500th brethren at once. No message was recorded. The 11th was to James, and then to all the apostles, no message recorded. The 12th was at his ascension. While he blessed them, a cloud received him out of their sight. The message was, "This same Jesus, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven." The 13th was to Saul and Tyrus. I can't get that, and I'm not going to. While on his way to Damascus, the message was, "Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me?" Apollonius calls number 13 the 4th hour. In it, the neophyte wanders in the sepulchres, and it will injure him. He will experience horror and fear of visions. He should devote himself to magic and to geotite. Here, he must be able to face fearlessly the forces which in the 12 hours he has invoked, and the first that appears is always the lowest and most antagonistic, such as elementals who stand ready to carry out man's unmuttered and oftentimes unrecognized thoughts, either good or evil. Also, since at this step the door is open to remains of the dead, astral corpses, which are often galvanized into a semblance of life, he must be fearless and know how to discriminate. But if he has completed the task of the third hour and has killed all senses of the personality as a separate entity, he here experiences a sense of utter loneliness. For although the celestial man has been born from the terrestrial, yet in this hour he is but a helpless babe crying out for the love of the great mother, whom he knows is near, but whom as yet cannot be fully see. Pappus says of this step, the foundations of the universe are now reached. The neophyte touches the extremity of the terrestrial aura. The sublunar atmosphere which surrounds each planet like the reservoir of the elements of its life. He has now reached a terrible moment when he must lose the earth to launch out into the ocean of space, a formidable crisis to which two periods are consecrated. Whoa, that's deep. He's so shy. He's a really big scaredy cat. Everything scares him. Poor thing. The 13th letter, Mem. Quote, letters as well as numbers were all mystic, whether in combination or taken separately. The most sacred of all is the letter M. It is both feminine and masculine, or androgyny, and is made to symbolize water in its origin, the great deep. The secret doctrine Blavatsky. I'll be reading that soon. Quote, he caused the letter Mem to reign in the water, crowned it, and combining it with others, formed the earth in the world, cold in the year, and the belly in man. End quote. Sefer Yitzraya. I recently read that on this channel. The 13th Hebrew letter is Mem. It is one of the three mother letters and is associated with water. In the creation of the universe on the second day, there was created a firmament in the midst of the waters to divide the waters from the waters. As we have said elsewhere, these days of creation are periods of time embracing vast geological ages, and the face of the great deep on which moved the Spirit of God comprised the materials for the planet in their semi-physical or astral state. And since it was from this state that Earth is cooling gradually solidified into dense physical matter, the ethereal astral matter, or the great deep, was the mother which brought it forth. Matter is therefore also mother, the very name matter, mother, indicating that this great deep is all one, the firmament in the midst of the waters being but the result of a difference in specific gravity. That part of the great deep which became dense physical matter being called earth, while that which remained as ethereal astral matter was called heaven. It was only at a very much later period that the word heaven became associated with the place of reward and blessedness. There is a theory put forth, however, that which is called the firmament was a shell of dense water vapor, the result of the cooling of the planet completely surrounding the earth and shutting out the direct light of the sun, the condensation and precipitation of which caused the flood. Although this theory does not entirely agree with the inner teachings, yet like most visions seen in the astral light and more or less imperfectly understood, it has some modicum of truth. The word firmament is to make firm, a support. Hence, this firmament is, let us say, the natural phenomena caused by the separation or settling of dense matter and the rising of more ethereal, a strong, firm, and impassable barrier to all particles, either of matter or of being, affinitized to the denser levels, yet all embraced in the great deep. Or we might say, bring forth from the same divine mother. Again, it is the water of the great deep, separated into constituent elements, fire, air, water, and three mothers. Therefore, we speak of the sea of humanity and the ocean of life. Makara, the original name for the 10th sign of the zodiac, means crocodile and is associated with water. Another aspect of water is the astral light, which is also called the Great Mother. Water in all its forms is called the Mother Principle. We also speak of Mother Earth, from whose bosom we spring and to whose bosom we return, yet the earth without water is barren. The Latin name for sea is mare. I don't know if I'm saying that right, or can you see it perfectly? The formation of the letter M is a conventionalized glyph for the waves, and it is thus form it is used by American Indians and others. This is also the symbol of the sign Aquarius, the water bearer. Nearly every name given to the mother of the great sun indicate or associate with water begins with the letter M. Maitreya is the name of the fifth Buddha. I don't think I got that right. And the Kalki Avatara of the Brahmins, the last Messiah who will come at the culmination of the great cycle. It is also the initial letter of the Greek metis, or divine wisdom, Mira, the word or logos, and the mithras, and the myrrh, and monad mystery. All these are born and inform the great deep and the sons of Maya, the mother in Egypt, Mut. This we have Mary. Sorry, page, many blank pages. Mother of Jesus, Myra, mother of Bacchus, Mari, mother of Hermes, Maya Maria, mother of the Siamese Savior, Samoa Condom, Mira, mother of the Greek Adonis, Maya, mother of Agni, sorry guys, Maya, mother of Buddha, Miriam, the prophetess, mother of Israel, Mizram, mother of Joshua, Minerva, the virgin queen. Among the Greeks, Rhea, wife of Kronos, was worshipped as Marad, mother of Mithros, and Mylitta, mother of Tammuz. Also, the month of May has always been considered as sacred to motherhood. Hence, it is considered unlucky to marry in the month if motherhood is not desired immediately. Moses was given his name because he was taken out of the water. Hieroglyphically, Mem is writ preeminently the material and plastic sign. It is woman co-equal with men. Mem designates regeneration, the result from previous destruction, also divine motherhood that has gained from experience. Just as water washes away that which is soiled or contaminated and purifies that which is defiled. So it regenerates and brings forth a new springtime from out of the depth of winter. Therefore is Mem also called the great work. Water is spoken of forming cold in contradiction to the heat of fire, for only as the great deep engulfed the burning, seething mass of molten ethereal matter of the globe could it begin to physical evolution bring forth and become a fit place for man's further evolution. We have death, number 13, the tarot card. FYI, this is actually a really good sign when you pull it in your readings, depending on what it is. It's rebirth, it's not death. Literally, it's death in something old and something new coming in. Just take note of what's here. There's small little people. Looks like a Hierophant or a priest. Notice the flag. Ah, the evil little skeleton on a white horse. Water. I get that in my decks a lot because I have a rebirth coming. I just don't know when. I also get a lot of towers too. The 13th tarot card, Death. This card represents a skeleton holding a scythe, with which he is mowing down a field. And this is the old card, not the new card, FYI. The field is filled with human heads, but as fast as they are cut down, hands and feet spring up in their places. The meaning of this is that the ideals and conceptions of the head very often seem to be cut down by the mower, death, yet they become immortalized through their realization by hands, the power of accomplishment, and feet, the understanding. In the next incarnation or in another generations which follow. Therefore, this card expresses the idea of reincarnation or a renewal of life after destruction. The 13th card has its evil or negative aspect as a symbol of necromancy or the evocation of the shades of the dead. For here we find the gaunt skeleton returning to earth through magical formulae to reap his harvest. It can readily be seen, however, that this is but a misunderstanding and perversion of the true meaning, which is the renewal of life and a return of it to incarnation of the souls harvested by death, that they may work out that which they have sown, and not the evocation of the empty shells or cast off astral envelopes incapable of thought. Thus, while the great Mother Divine Love is the true symbol, its evil side has for its symbol what Ephesius Levi describes as the queen of the world. Knowest thou that old queen of the world, who is on the march always and wearies never? Every uncurbed passion, every selfish pleasure, every lictitious energy of humanity and all its tyrannous weakness go before the sordid mistress of our tearful valley, and scythe in hand, these indefatigable laborers reap their eternal harvest. End quote. The Bible calls her the scarlet woman. Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that setteth on my waters. with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. As long as the place of the Divine Mother is taken up by this creature, the earth and its inhabitants must bring forth its sin. And while they do so, death, the reaper, is blessing. To live forever subject to the whims of this old queen of the world who has usurped the divine motherhood would be unbearable. Hence, in the respect, death, the reaper, is in truth a beneficent friend. We need the sleep of the soul called death, not only that our conscious being transferred to another plane may see the happening of our past life from a new angle and thus judge the hidden springs of action, but we also need in that we may wait patiently for the harvest we sowed in our past life to grow and be reaped, that when we again return, we may take up the task of separating the wheat from the tares. This could not be done in one life, since both must grow together till the harvest. Only when the skeleton reaper has put his scythe and we have had our eyes open and have been able to look at our work from an entirety new viewpoint in the higher realms, are we able to diminish which is which. Therefore, since in our next earth life, our work must be burning the tares and gathering the wheat into the garner, physical immortality without regeneration would be a bitter curse. And there, my friends, ends number 13. Next time we will tackle 14. There's no scythe in his hand, FYI. Rebirth. Sending in each and every one of you love and light. I hope all of you had a wonderful and incredible weekend. Remember to hit that like button, to subscribe, to share. And if you have it within you, please support my work. And until next time, I hope all of you have an amazing week. See you in the next one. Bye, guys.